You may have been following the story that broke over the weekend with a female sportscaster in the locker room with the New York Jets, Inez Sainz. She's a reporter for Azteca Television in New York, and she was allegedly harassed by the Jets players. And it's a story that's kind of taking on an interesting overtone, and I can't think of anybody better to put it into its proper perspective than a very well-respected sports writer and broadcaster as well, Christine Brennan, award-winning sports columnist for the USA Today, and of course you see her on ABC and elsewhere around the country. Christine, the first thing that came into my mind when I saw this story, and I thought about you coming on to talk about it, is, are you surprised as I am to see this become an issue and a story in 2010?
Ron, I am, in the sense that I can't believe that there are people who are thinking that it's a question. You know, are women in locker rooms, and why are they there, and they shouldn't be there? That is long since settled, and it's like asking, should women vote? You know, should women be in locker rooms? Should women vote? Should another, minority-owned property? I mean, this is absurd. It's a settled thing, done deal. The NFL has had a rule, an edict that there would be equal access for male and female reporters since 1985, 25 years. So this is not, and they're not going back, and they've reissued today their guidelines that women are to be treated equally. Women reporters are professionals. They're in the locker room just like men. End of story. So that part is stunning, that this is still out there now. Of course, the blogosphere and the Internet, that it fosters these kind of conversations with people who don't really know what they're talking about, and as I said, the NFL themselves are saying, it's over, don't even discuss it. So there's that. But then you throw in the fact that we do have the Internet, and we do have blogs and websites and this insatiable 24/7 kind of attention span where everyone wants to know everything. And then it's New York City. It's the New York Jets. It's the NFL on the opening weekend of the season. You put all that into the mix, and it's, that topic people seem to be fascinated about, women covering men's sports and women in the locker room. And you throw all that in, and I guess it doesn't surprise me entirely that this has taken off as a story as it has.
Why do you think it happened?
That's a great question. I think what happened, of course, we're not sure. There are allegations that the New York Jets mistreated a credentialed journalist, a credentialed reporter, a broadcast reporter, on their in the workplace, I guess is how we describe it, which is the playing field, the practice field, and then the locker room. A workplace for the reporters, all credentialed, workplace, of course, for the players and the coaches. And if that's what happened, if there was harassment, if it even came from the top down, from Rex Ryan, there are allegations that he was thought it was hilarious to be throwing a football towards Inez Sainz, who is the TV reporter, credentialed to be there. If that happened, why did it happen? Football players, I guess, acting immaturely, obviously acting against. If in fact these allegations are true, Ron, that means they acted against the rules, the edict, the way they're supposed to act according to the NFL themselves, not according to me, not according to you, the National Football League. We'll know soon enough if there are, if in fact the NFL finds wrongdoing, which I'm guessing they will, if in fact the allegations are true, and will punish people. Back in 1990, almost 20 years to the day now, the New England Patriots terribly mistreated and harassed a woman, Lisa Olson, a terrific journalist from the Boston Herald. Doesn't matter that she was a woman or not. I mean, she's just a great journalist. And Lisa Olson was mistreated terribly. The NFL didn't do much about it, and finally fined a few of the New England Patriots. So my guess would be they're this time much more serious, much more quick to handle it. The NFL has been. I'm guessing there would be some very serious fines. Why? I guess these players have to grow up. That's all I guess I could muster at this point.
Is there a nuance here that's a little bit different from back in 1990 with Lisa Olson? That was simply having a woman in the locker room and what was perceived to be a male-only type of job. But this seems to bring into question what the reporter Inez Sainz was wearing. And does that, in any particular way, when I thought about it and I tried to play devil's advocate a little bit, I'm just wondering that if a male went into a female locker room and he was wearing a Speedo and a tank top, whether that would be found to be offensive and might elicit some type of comments from the female athletes or not. What's your read on that, Christine?
I think it's a question that's being discussed, of course. You're not wrong to bring it up. And, in fact, there have been so many, comments and blogs and of course, Inez Sainz, who I do not know, although the last 48 hours of my life I've spent defending her, but I don't know her, and I'm happy, of course, to talk about this issue on her behalf and all women. But Ron, I think, we know that we've seen pictures, we've seen her Twitter account, all this stuff. I think that's a conversation for books. It's a conversation for speeches. I have talked at length about to young women coming up in the business, to men too, about all kinds of things. And one of them, our Women's Sports Media Group, in fact, we've had panels on this and sessions on how to dress and what to wear and how to be taken seriously as women, but I say the same thing to men, too. And you bring up that point about a guy if he were wearing a Speedo or something. I think the important distinction to make here, and I don't think it's as nuanced as it might sound, but that is all important, and you know me well enough to know I'll never run away from these kind of conversations. The difference here is that we are talking about an event, an alleged event, that happened, if in fact it did happen, on Saturday. I keep saying alleged because we don't know for sure all the details. And it's a workplace issue with a credentialed journalist. And I think to bring up anything else at this point takes us away from the very serious issue of how the Jets and how the NFL are going to handle these allegations of harassment that are incredibly serious and that we have fought our whole lives for as journalists, women especially, but men too, to be treated right, to be treated fairly, and to have a workplace environment just like anyone listening right now who works in a law office or a doctor's office or an insurance company. The locker room and the practice field are our workplace. I know that sounds kind of funny, but it's true. And, of course, we provide the news and the quotes for millions of fans of these teams who crave every little detail we can give them. So that's what we're doing. We're being paid to do it, of course, and we're lucky to have the opportunity to do it. But it is a job at least some level. So I'm not running away from your question, but I do believe that it is so important to not muddy the waters on something that is absolutely it's a legal right to be treated properly in your workplace.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take our eye off the ball of what is a very serious charge of a credentialed reporter. The Jets credentialed her. You didn't. I didn't. The Jets have control of that. Once you credential somebody, they have to be treated right. So, but I will say this, that I have said in speeches and in our women's sports media conventions and everything, I have always encouraged women, do not play to the frat house. Use your brains and your talent. And I always will say that. But I want that to be separate right now. I'm sorry again about the phone hearing. I want that to be separate right now from the very serious point that I'm making, obviously, about the Jets, because I think it's not. That's a separate issue. Does that make any sense at all?
No, it does. I also just don't think you go into some atmospheres. I mean, you've been in the press box and you know that they always make the announcement. There'll be no cheering or clapping, and I think there is a decorum and there's a demeanor that you have to adhere to. And I agree with you wholeheartedly about the fact that there should be equal access. I do believe, though, you've got to be smarter and more sensitive when you know the atmosphere you happen to be working in. We've got about a minute and 15. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't, of course. I mean, I've lived my life, 30 years of this wonderful career, every day aware of these things. But I also think it can be generational. I'm sure if you've been in high school recently, you see how kids dress. It's very different from the way I dressed when I was in high school. And I respect that. There's no cookie-cutter image for women in sports media. Having said that, Inez is, I don't even know if she's entirely a sports journalist, right? I mean, she's on TV, she's doing other things. I think it's an important topic to bring up. I'm not running away from it, but I think on the table for us right now, we have something that is so important for men and women who cover sports to be treated right and properly. And so we can't go back from that, but I will always tell people to rely on their brains and their talent. Looks come, looks go. I want Inez Saenz and everybody else to be able to have a career at 50 or 55 or 60. And you have to do that, as you well know, Ron, you have to rely on your brains, your talent, your ability to do journalism, broadcasting, whatever. So I hope for her that she has a long career, and I hope for her that she is able to rely on her brains and her talent. And as I say that, I also care very much about how this is resolved for her as a credentialed journalist.
Well, I appreciate your insights on this. I think they're very poignant to the discussion and the debate on this, and I knew you'd give me this type of perspective. Christine, thank you very much, and I want to urge everybody to check out her Twitter account. It's excellent. You'll find it at Twitter at CB Brennan Sports. Thanks a lot, Christine. Take care.
My pleasure, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Christine Brennan with us, of course, the award-winning sports columnist for the USA Today. We'll take a break here as we continue across the country and around the world. We've got you on Sports Byline.